Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for Roundtable Aftermath. I'm being joined by Mario Munguia from Infighting Podcast, also TBH 206. Everybody subscribe to the Boxing Historian 206 here on YouTube. For those listening on the podcast network, shout out to you. We'll be back this week, obviously. I couldn't get the MP3 last week, so I apologize to everyone that listens through those avenues, but we will be back on iHeart, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Music, the whole nine. We appreciate everyone tuning in. If you're listening on archive right now, hit that like button. Share this video on all your social media platforms, and let's get this one started here. First of all, let me give a shout out to Chicano Prophets this season in a row listening. No Paul Boxianos. Long Live Boxing, Stark Cinema, Shoe Shine, Boxing, left some early comments, so shout out to them. All right, guys, Bivol, Dimitri Bivol in Vegas puts on, in my opinion, a boxing clinic. I think he did a great job in that fight and shocked the world. He was a 4 to 5 to 1 favorite, depending on what casino and when you bet. Him by decision was like a 7 to 1 odds. I mean, this was a long shot according to the casinos. Betting on Canelo was not. I mean, if you bet on Canelo by decision straight up, you have to bet a lot of money to win some, right? And it did not go Saul Canelo Alvarez' way. He went up to 175 pounds for the second time in his career, and it did not pan out. Historian, talk to us, bro. Talk to us, TBH. Now that you have time to reflect, look back, rewatch, you know what I mean? Just whatever it is, what you make of Dimitri Bivol's performance.
It was to be expected from me, and I did predict a domination by Bivol, and everything that went on in the fight. I would say 90% of what went on in the fight, I thought was going to go down. All right. I really did think that it was going to go down like that with this fight with Bivol and Canelo Alvarez. I believe that Canelo Alvarez, his best shot was in the early rounds to get the body shots going early. And the fact that and they trap him in the corner, I thought that was his best offense. But even what surprised me, which I knew Bivol was going to beat him anyways, with the jab, with the 1-2, the combination punching, the lateral movement, the ability to move, and the hand speed, and the technique that he has always displayed, which is the reason why Andre Ward ran up out of the division at 175 years ago. Canelo, if he didn't get those body shots, and what really impressed me with Bivol was that he defended those. He had a real tight guard. He deflected a lot of those punches. That little weird overhand right he was throwing, Canelo was throwing, the body shots that Canelo was throwing. He blocked a lot of those. And Canelo didn't have a jab. And when you don't have a jab and against a lead jabber, and your head move is not there, and he's touching you up, which was so beautiful with what he was doing. Yeah, Canelo would have that little high guard, but he would just touch him up, and then throw a real jab and start landing combination punches. And he was economical to the body with very well timed punches to the body as well. And it was a blowout. I mean, he also affected Canelo Alvarez where he didn't. It was Canelo rock, not necessarily, but Canelo. You could tell if Canelo was being affected by those punches, and he was like, "Okay, this dude hits a little harder than what I thought he did," and it affected him to the point where he didn't just come in all crazy and wild. He was looking for power shots early in the fight, and they just weren't there. The best shot that he had was that right uppercut, right when he got him in the corner and split right through the guard. And the fact that Bivol was able to take those punches gave him all the more confidence. I thought he let Canelo off the hook when Canelo was dead tired. He was tired after the third round, dead tired with his back against the wall, back against the ropes. Bivol was very intelligent. He played keep away, but I thought offensively he could have did a whole lot more to Canelo Alvarez on them ropes. Yeah, Canelo could try to set traps, but if somebody's throwing tons of punches and bunches with accurate combination punching, I thought he could really, really hurt Canelo even more so than what he did. And Canelo, man, he was overmatched, man. This is what happens when you move up to 175. In the challenge, a top level champion like Bivol. And I thought I was more perplexed at for Vegas. Vegas supposed to at least have some semblance of understanding of boxing. Like I said, Bivol, all right, should have been the favorite in the fight. I had it 60-40 for Bivol, but really my heart was telling me, my mind was telling me 80-20, but I was giving Canelo that respect, and that's how it played out. Just utter domination, and it's to be expected. Canelo Alvarez, I mean, hey, first and foremost, credit to Bivol, but credit for Canelo stepping up in there, but he needs to stay his ass down at 168 and go and give Benavidez a shot.
All right. Mario Munguia, what you make of Bivol's nostalgia performance, according to Beeb? What you make of his performance?
Yeah, what's up, everybody? I'm going to try to do my best not to, make jokes that accidentally spoil Doctor Strange 2, so bear with me.
Hey, listen, no spoilers, brother.
No. I'm going to do my best. I swear. I promise you. But listen, I'm going to tell you, though. I like historian's a great dude, knows his boxing. I know that. But I'm calling bullshit on people that are like, oh, well, this is what I expected. Like, come on. Like, I'm not saying, and I sat here and heard you very much break down that this is the kind of fight that we could expect. But it's like, I can't imagine anybody was sitting at home, just sitting here ready for Canelo to get dethroned. Like the entire vibe of the night on Twitter in the house, like nothing whatsoever felt that way. You know what I mean? And it was a big sports night, and still like everything, like as big as like I heard more about Memphis playing than I heard about, potential Bivol win. Right. But he did everything that anybody who knew anything about the sport said he could do. And that was be the bigger, good fighter. There's an adage in boxing. It's one of the first things I ever heard. And it was always that a good big guy beats a great small guy. I think that's not exactly what we saw, but it's pretty close. The punches Canelo landed didn't matter. They didn't register. They weren't being kept account of by Bivol, and there were moments in this fight when Canelo would land something that he's landed on other fighters before who would react in a big way. And Bivol gave him nothing. It wasn't just his ability. It was his preparedness on a big major stage, because you can play like Tom Brady, but can you play like Tom Brady in the clutch, in the biggest moment of your life with all the lights on?
Bivol was clutch.
That's the toughest thing to do in the sport. And Bivol did it like a seasoned pro, like a veteran. Absolutely did not panic in this fight, okay? Stuck close to the game plan. He knew what was working. He knew what wasn't for Canelo, and he could see the frustration. Guys, we were in round 3, and Canelo had looked like he'd already been through 8 rounds. We were in round 6, and Bivol looked like he was fresh, like he was coming out for round 2. It was crazy, the amount of things that we saw in this fight that can be relegated to size. Because again, this adage was here long before we ever started watching the sport, and it's going to be here long after we all stop. Bottom line, there was no adjustment to make for Canelo. There was nothing he could do. He was in a position where the only thing you could do is hop into a time machine and try to get bigger and faster. And I don't even want to get into, how he does that in that short amount of time, but that's the only thing you could even try to do. There was nothing in that moment that was going to save him. No other trainer, no other sparring partner, no other piece of advice. Adrian wasn't going to run down the ramp, say his name, and then magically he's going to come back to victory. That wasn't going to happen. We got what we got, and much credit to Bivol.
Much credit to Bivol, and to the winner does go the spoils. Look, I will say this, and I understand what a lot of people are saying, right? I'm hearing a lot of people say things, Twitter's not that. My Twitter, I guess, I don't know if Twitter suspended me or what, because Twitter's not coming up for me. So I don't know what the hell's going on. But I'll check later. I honestly don't know what's going on with that, but it is what it is. But check this out. Can somebody post a link from Twitter on the chat, please, so I could try from there? But check this out. So I think Bivol looked good. He looked solid. The jab was on point. That was his weapon of choice. This is a fight where none of the guys were landing on a high percentage, but Bivol threw over 700 punches. And that's going to make a big difference. Because when your volume is that high, right? When you're shooting with a machine gun, not a pistol, it doesn't matter that you miss a lot because you're shooting so many bullets, right? And I think that's what makes the big difference in a fight. The volume, the ability to throw that many punches, the ability, like this guy threw almost 800 punches at light heavyweight. That's amazing. Like it just is, right? And he's throwing them in the line of fire against an opponent that's, trying to land big shots on him. That's what Bivol did, And the other thing is that I don't think is being talked about enough is his ability to just back Canelo up when he wanted to back him up, to show him that this is my division, bro. You're not going to just bully me around in here. And I think that does pay dividends, right? But one thing I'm going to respectfully, partially disagree with my friend Joe Habib is that size played no factor in this fight. Let me tell you something. When you move up in weight, the opponents have better punch resistance. The opponent's punches are heavier. Well, you're carrying more weight, so you're not as that's the name of the game. That's not an excuse. Look, if you want to fight at light heavyweight, then you got to carry that weight, right? If you want to fight at that weight, or come lighter if you want. You know what I mean? You choose. But yes, the skills of Bivol want him to fight. No doubt about that, right? Canelo has fought bigger men that he just outmatched in the skills, so the size didn't matter, right? So Bivol did have the skills to where, to show, I could compete. Not only can I compete with this guy, I could outbox this guy. I have faster feet than him. I'm going to utilize that, right? I'm going to use volume, and that matters. But when Canelo finally did land punches, Bivol was able to take them, right? And that makes a big difference. Right? There's no equalizer like that for Canelo to try to turn the fight around somehow, right? Other guys just didn't have the skills to do that. Even guys that are bigger than Bivol, right? But when you got skills, right, and you're hard to get hit because Bivol's defense was on point. Canelo landed possibly a career low. I haven't looked at every Canelo fight, right? I think I'm not going by percentage. I'm going by total landed, probably a career low, right? Which is astonishing, and that credit goes to Bivol. But the times he did land, Bivol was able to take the punches, point blank. Like Canelo was throwing the shot to the bicep, right? The fact that he's a bigger dude means he could take that punch better. You know what I mean? Like those are just, in my opinion, that's just physics. Like bigger dudes, better punch resistance, better everything. You know what I mean? Heavier. And then the other thing that I just don't. And we're going to talk about this now. We're going to talk about the excuses next. Okay, but I think it was Coach. I forgot who asked. I do believe it was Coach Malachi on Twitter. I do believe he asked, and he asked, did Canelo look slower and sluggish at 175? Did it play a factor? Look, that's the name of the game. Like, if you want to compete at 175, you need to put on weight to compete with those dudes, right? You're not going to stay at 160 or some shit, right? So that's the name of the game. Like, when you move up in weight, you have to carry the weight. If you can't carry the weight, then I guess you don't belong in the weight. I mean, that's the way it is. But I want to talk about this. Reynoso, he came out and he said that he felt that they wanted to fight. Canelo said he felt they wanted to fight, right? Do you have a problem with them, Mario? Does that bother you? Or is that annoying? Because I saw a lot of people say, "Oh, keep the same energy. They said that they won." Like, okay, but like, what? I don't know. What do you make of it?
No, I have no problems him saying that, and believing that. Maybe I'd have a bit of more of a problem, but saying that, no, I don't have a problem. Like, he's supposed to maintain this, virtuoso, not virtuoso, like, this machismo, you know what I mean? This allure of still being the king and remaining on the throne. Like, he's supposed to do this. This is what the best athletes in the world do. This is what separates them from us. The best plumber in the world, no offense, like, that's probably a big time skill. Well, I know it's a big time skill, right? And it's a skill that you use more than being a quarterback. But when the pressure's on, like, plumbers never had to, like, fix a toilet with the game on the line. Like, you know what I'm saying? And the only point I'm trying to make is that it's different. It's different when you're the guy who's in there. You were supposed to say you won. You're supposed to say all those things. Is it the truth? No, not at all. Does he actually believe it? I highly doubt Canelo. I know Canelo realizes he got the shit kicked out of him way more than any other fight. Like, he knows that. I promise you. He woke up Sunday morning like, yo, I got my ass kicked. But saying that, posturing like that doesn't bother me. I don't give a shit. I'm a WWE fan, so.
Yeah. The story, did that bother you at all? Is it the same as like what Teofimo did when he grabbed the mic and was like I won that fight. I won 10-2, and is it the same thing to you?
It's not necessarily the same thing. Definitely not the same thing. I mean, because he wasn't I'll say he wasn't being real with himself. He wasn't being real that the fact that he look, his facial expression after the fight was over was obvious that he knew he got his ass whooped. You understand? And he should have just acknowledged that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He just acknowledged it instead of trying to raise his hand, trying to
he was doing the Mikey Garcia after the Spence fight.
Yeah. Yeah, come on, man. But is it as bad as because guys have done that before. Guys thought, I won. I won this fight. I mean, it's guys have pride. It's
pride. That's the best way to put it.
Josh Taylor Catterall.
Yeah. I mean, we're dealing with fighters now. But there is a way to be when you're a sore loser, Teofimo Lopez. I mean, you sitting up here with a cut right here bleeding, your nose is pushed in, you lumped up, and you was talking about you won 8 rounds of 4. Like, get the hell up out of here, bro. Like, that's entirely different. No, I don't think it was as bad as advertised that people are trying to make it out to be. No.
Oh, absolutely. Tony Boswell, shout out to you, brother. I think like my issue is this, right? We can't expect these fighters to have a clear judgment of the fight the same way we do because we're watching it on television, right? Like fighters have a very biased perspective when they're fighting because maybe they're concentrating on something they want to specifically do or whatever the case is. But so I really didn't have an issue. I don't think anyone needs to answer for what Reynoso said. I just don't. That's just my opinion, right? But I do want to talk about the first 4 rounds. And look, I completely disagree with the judges giving all 4 of the first 4 rounds to Canelo, like all 4, right? But I have a but. Okay, I have a but with the first 4 rounds. And sometimes when you're judging scorecards, people need to step away from their own personal scorecard. Like your scorecard matters too, right? But look at everyone else that scored the fight, though. Like, we have multiple writers, we have multiple commentators, YouTube channels, boxing fans, right? A lot of people scored this fight, and you got to put your own ego to the side, and that's it. That's how you're objective when you analyze scorecards. Look at everybody's, right? You can't just look at yours and say, I know better than everybody. So, no. So, and I agree with what Maestro said. I'm going to touch on that, by the way. But definitely front loading. But I just want to say this. It's an observation. Nobody agrees on the first 4 rounds. Nobody. Like nobody agrees. I see people say, Eric and Beeb did a show yesterday. They disagreed on the first 4 rounds. Eric gave him 2 rounds that Beep didn't give, and vice versa, right? So that's something that I just want people to be aware of when it comes to that, right? I just nobody agrees on the first 4 rounds. Nobody. Like I'm just telling you right now. Some people gave Canelo first round. Some people say there's no way you won first round. You don't know how to score. Well, who are you to say? Like different people have different opinions. Some people scored a 3-1 Bivol, and they don't even agree on the 1 round they gave Canelo. Like some of them gave him round 3, some of them gave him round 4, some of them gave him round 2. Like it's whatever it is. Like even if they had a 3-1 Canelo, they don't even agree on which one Bivol won. So I just wanted to point that out. But that with that said, this proves my theory of front loading. Okay? G-Funk didn't give him any of the first 4. That's his prerogative. But majority rules. Majority of people had it 3-1 or 2-2. That's just the facts, brother. You need to kind of be open-minded to that, right? But here's the thing. This proves my theory of the front loading, right? When a judge is sitting there and they want a fighter to win, okay? They start front loading early because their goal is to get to 7 rounds as fast as possible, right? Once they get to 7, they'll score the rest of the fight. They always score it accurately. It never fails, right? That's why you end up with wide scorecards, right? Like you're wondering, like, how the fuck did they score that 10-2? That was a really close fight because they front loaded it and then they started scoring it properly once they give the guy 7 rounds, right? In this case, those first 4 rounds were probably some of the most competitive rounds of the entire fight. And they gave every benefit of the doubt to Canelo, which you could, because I already told you guys, nobody agrees on the first 4 rounds, right? And to me, it's utterly disgusting that you can't give at least 2 of those to Bivol, in my opinion, okay? But nonetheless, they front-loaded it, and that shows you how one-sided the fight got. Because these judges couldn't give him a round to round 9. 5, 6, 7, 8, all to Bivol. Round 9, it was a close round, but most gave it to Canelo, right? I think that was probably Canelo's best round. They gave him that one, of course. And then 10, 11, 12, Bivol just took those rounds. Like, he left no doubt. Like, there's no way you're going to give this motherfucker these rounds, right? Even judges that front-loaded the scorecards couldn't give Canelo the fight because of how one-sided these rounds were. If these rounds were anywhere near competitive, like if Bivol was edging them out, but they were very competitive, Canelo would have won this fight. He would have won 7-5, 8-4 if that was the case. But I want you guys' thoughts on that. What you make of the scorecards early, TBH, and all that good stuff?
Well, I mean, remember I told you guys, man, and I was joking when I said it, but I was like, the only way Canelo, last Monday, the only way Canelo's winning this fight is through the fix being in for them cards, bro. Some of the most disgusting. That was a very disgusting scorecard, bro. Overall. Now, as far as the first 4 rounds, arguably semi-competitive. I mean, there was one swing round. I thought that they split the first 2 rounds, swing round in the third. The 4th round definitely was Bivol, and but from that point, you could tell that where the fight was going from round 4 and onward. And Canelo may have only got 2 other rounds outside of that fight, outside of that round 2, maybe round 3. It wasn't competitive at all after the 4th round. And it was dictated by the establishment of the jab in the first 4, obviously. And, you know, that the front running with the scorecards, I mean, it was very obvious that they were going to do that.
Very obvious,
It's very obvious that they were going to do that for Canelo. It's just what it is. I mean, he is the superstar, and he's the, somewhat pampered star of this generation because he's the face of boxing. But 15-13, I mean, if it was semi-competitive, right, like Lara and Canelo, it was going to go to Canelo. But it was so bad, like it was so bad that it really was 9-3.
I mean, Canelo won that one, but you know, we'll talk about that one another day.
Yeah, you know, but I mean, 8-4. 8-4 at the very most. But
Bivol didn't fight anything like Lara, brother. Like Bivol brought it to Canelo. I'm just saying.
Bivol had his ass back in the fuck.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just saying. You know what I mean? But no. Like I will always say that Lara, Canelo, depending on how you personally see it, could go either way. I'll keep it fair. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like it when people are like, no, there's no way Canelo won that fight. Nah, bro. Like plenty of great boxing minds gave Canelo that fight. It just depends how you see it. It's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So people get caught up and they're like, no, it's the way I score it. Oh, that's the only way that matters. Like, no, you got to look at everybody, right? So, but I apologize, but go ahead, finish mine.
Yeah, no, I mean, I look, Lara, Canelo, I watched it again one time and I scored it 7-5. I had it much closer than what I initially had it when I first saw it. But yeah, I mean, Bivol, it still was just kind of disgusting. I mean, 15-13, and then you score. It's like, man, come on, man. Like, have some integrity for these judges and for whoever was involved. Have some goddamn integrity, bro. That was not no 115, 113 scorecard, you know, but it is what it is. It's just, I guess it's to be expected in this landscape of boxing. But yeah.
Before I go to Mario, and it's just what I know, and I think it's how what people value in fights and what people see. It's just my opinion. I feel like the way Canelo fights, some people value what he does, some don't, and you could tell because I see a pattern. Right? There's people that don't give Canelo any of the close fights he was in. Like they swear he lost every single one of them almost. Right? So it doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means that they don't value maybe what Canelo does in some fights, and et cetera. And you could tell, right? And there's people that maybe overvalue what Canelo does, right? And maybe had this one 7-5 or some shit. Like, you know, that maybe they value it a little too much, you know. But Mario, what are your thoughts, brother? 4-0.
Yeah, look, I'll definitely front loading 100%. There's no doubt about that. And before I even say it, because I do have a big butt too. I have a huge Nicki Minaj butt coming, but I just need everybody to understand before I say that, this is what I want to put in perspective. Were the scorecards an accurate representation of the wide margin for which Bivol won? No, they weren't. Okay. But the problem is the discrepancy, like D is talking about, right? D Styles saying this perfect. If you have 4 rounds for which you can argue, anyone can argue that a Canelo round can be given, then you have to go back to that fight and ask yourself, of the 12 rounds, which were those, regardless of how you scored it, regardless of your personal justifications and enjoyment and whatever that gives you scoring, for you to go back and ask, what are the rounds that you could give Canelo? That's a totally different question. And that's a question where you start to get 4, possibly even 5 rounds in that conversation. And I'm not saying that one person's going to say 4 or 5 rounds belong to Canelo. What I'm saying is you're going to get 4 or 5 different rounds that people are going to suggest Canelo won. The issue isn't that there weren't enough swing rounds in 1 through 4, anything like that. The issue is that the benefit of the doubt is taken from Bivol, and not just Bivol, anybody that's in the ring across from an A side who's generating money for many, many people and different companies that promote that person and support that person, okay, that fighter. And in this case, you have Canelo giving preferential treatment, but they're not giving Canelo preferential treatment. They're giving that position of A side. They gave De La Hoya the same, position. They gave Pacquiao a lot of the same, enjoyments. When you are that champion guy, it's expected, and everybody's always said the Ric Flair thing, right? To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! But the problem is this, right? This is supposed to be a sporting contest where everything is as fair as humanly possible before 2 guys into the ring. So if somebody's coming in the ring knowing that they don't have to lose the round, They have to win the round. That's a different thing, because Canelo can just not lose a round, and they're going to give him that. They're going to give him that as close as it can be. So when you're in the position of a person challenging an A-side, a true A-side, a financial money-making A-side, you have to know that you're in a position where you have to take it from him. You have to go out there and beat him. That's what Bivol had to do. And so, again, it's not that I'm not unhappy or I think that it was unfair. It's that I wasn't surprised. You know what I said when we were going into the 11th round, or the 10th round was just about to end? I looked over at my brother and I said, if he wins the championship rounds, if you can give him 11 and 12, he wins this fight. Guess what? If he would have won 11 and 12, he would have won the fucking fight. And I just knew it. I knew it because you had to beat him. This is the same fighter who got a draw against Mayweather, or no, wait, he got it on the judge's scorecard. You know, he lost the fight clearly in the Floyd fight. I'm just saying, this is the same fighter for which one judge found a way to give him that fight. Like, that's ridiculous. So you have to know you're in that position. You have to know that, as unfair as it is, that's the role that judges play in this sport more times than not. And there can be great judges who do a great job, who may be your favorite. But believe me when I tell you, they are all very aware for which the milk, or what teat comes out of which milk. You get what I'm saying? Like, they know exactly who is running this show. They know exactly why they're getting paid these exorbitant amount of money.
Yeah. Look, I gave Canelo 2 of the first 4 rounds. You know, it is what it is. That's just my opinion. If you don't, like Chief Fucking say he didn't give him any, okay. I mean, it is what it is, but that's your one person. We got to count everybody. You know what I mean? So we just got to kind of go across the board. But CJ Ross's scorecard was definitely abysmal. I mean, Mayweather was landing like 45%, some shit like that in that fight. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. No, you're one.
Like, there ain't no way. Like, no way. You know what I mean? But in this fight, same thing. Like, what I know is this. These judges couldn't give him round 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, even if they wanted to.
Well, just so you know, to your point that you made, this is how accurate you were. You said you don't know if this was the lowest punch total of Canelo's career. He had single-digit punch landed in every round except for the round 9. Or, I'm sorry, up until round 9. That was the first time he had double-digit punches landed. And that was the round they gave him. They were itching to give him a round.
And they were like, come on, brother, we're trying to give you this fight, bro.
Exactly.
Like all those judges sat there round 11, like round 12, and they were like, fuck, I can't give it to him. That's just what happened there, man. Okay. They front loaded, and that's what happens when you front load. And they were looking for any reason to give Canelo that round, whatever it was. He has a big moment, you won the round. Like, well, whatever it is, they were definitely looking to give him every single benefit of the doubt. Now the question is, Bivol has hinted at this before. Bivol has said he could make 168 pounds, right? It was rumored last year, like a replacement opponent to Plant was Bivol. Right, that was like if the Plant fight didn't work out, then we're gonna get Bivol in the ring, right? Historian, can Bivol make 168 pounds? And would you be for the fight? Will you be for the rematch? We already know how it is at 175, right? 168 with all the belts on the line. Would you be for that fight if Bivol wants to do it? I'm muted, brother, I think.
No, and no, because that's some punk ass shit. Why? Because why would you sit up here? You got your ass whooped up, moving up to his weight class. Why would he have to come down to 165 to fight you?
Wants those belts. The gold, brother. Undisputed, 168. Some people like Bieber saying that size had nothing to do with it. So he said he could make 168, no problem.
Yeah. Well, you know, he cut extra 8 or 10 more pounds, and his ass weight drain like a couple other guys he fought. You know, that was weight drain. I don't want to see that, and I don't want to see him get a cheap ass win. if he's gonna fight him again, and I look, if Bivol wanted to get those belts, then that's on him. But me as a boxing fan, no, I want to see that, and I would criticize the hell out of everybody that's involved, including the man that's the man of the hour who just got his ass whooped this past Saturday, Canelo Alvarez. You understand? If you sat up here, you got whooped at 175. You want him to bring him down to 168, where you have the advantage, the physical, the advantage of the weight. That ain't cool, man. That ain't right. And I think that's, look, bro.
Well, how about this? That we already know how the fight looks like at 175, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's an incentive. There's belts. There's undisputed. There's like, what if he beats Canelo at 168, bro? He's undisputed, and then he could move back up and fight Beterbiev at 175 for undisputed. He could be a 2-division undisputed champion. Do you think Bivol is bigger than Benavidez?
No, well, Benavidez is cruiserweight, man.
Well, there you go. Where's he fighting?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, not everybody. I don't know what they doing over there to get down like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not healthy, and I just don't think anybody that's at 175 will want to go down to 168, cutting the extra pounds, because you don't know. You know, you might dehydrate yourself trying to get to that weight, and I don't think I don't think that'd be the logical thing for him to do.
Bill, I want to give a shout out to Maestro is in the chat right now. Did some great coverage in Las Vegas, Nevada for the fight over there. Canelo Bivol did some great coverage. A shout out to him. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out the interviews that he did. He did a good interview with. He was in New York. I mean, he's always in New York, but I meant like at the Madison Square Garden. And he did some interviews there as well. So check that out. Alpha Weekend G, I appreciate the support, brother. Much appreciated. All day, every day. Look, I want to ask you guys. I want to ask you, Mario. 168. I mean, Bivol said before, although I want to add this caveat. Marcos Villegas, I think, kept asking him. And Bivol had like a pause, and he actually said, well, I think I can make the weight. Like he was kind of unsure. He said before COVID, I could have made it, but now after COVID, I'm not sure. And he rubbed his belly kind of, and he said, I guess he ate too much during COVID. I don't know. But what do you think? 168, will you be down for it?
No, I don't want to see this rematch at all. And I know we're going to get into the should Canelo take the rematch at all, aspect of this. So I'll kind of stay away from that for now, but I'll say this from Bivol's standpoint. I get it. I don't think that the question's dumb. I don't think it's silly because, in very rare moments in boxing, not just in a boxer's career, but in boxing, do you ever get the ability to challenge for all the belts in one fell swoop, right? How many people are able to claim undisputed by beating a single fighter? It's rarefied to the point that to want to take advantage of it, I get that. But there's no reason to do this at all. If Canelo wants the shot, it's Bivol to give him the shot. No, Bivol's not going to be some cash cow. No, Bivol's not going to be more important to the sport of boxing than Canelo. But right now, Bivol owns that win, and it's his shot to call. It wouldn't be wrong if Bivol came down to 168 to challenge Canelo. It would be stupid, specifically because it's already lining up perfectly for you to fight for the undisputed of the division you're actually in. And I see people in the chat, putting about, he weighed this on fight night. He weighed this on fight night. Fine. But ultimately, this is the division for which he competes. So that's the, easiest route of it all. Look at Charles Oliveira this weekend, right? Lost the title on the scales. You never know when this stuff happens. And for you to gamble with it in your second biggest fight of your career, and you could argue first because he's already got the Canelo win, it just doesn't make any sense. I just don't see the logic. Whatever commercial interest is drummed up by Beterbiev and Joe Smith, great. But right now, as it stands, the moment that Bivol challenges for the undisputed against the winner of either of those guys, that is a big time fight. Is he going to do big time commercial money? No, but guess what? Neither is fighting Jermall Charlo for all the belts at 168. That's not going to do shit either. Like, he's in a position where, he's kind of in Ugas's position, right? Ugas beats Pacquiao, but he doesn't get the Pacquiao rub like everybody else that beats De La Hoya or Pacquiao or, those big names. But ultimately, he finds himself in a situation where, he beat Canelo, but he's still in a position where he doesn't have a lot of namesakes. He's in the same situation as Canelo, waiting for somebody to build themselves so much that we buy $100 pay-per-view, pretty much.
First of all, I seriously doubt that Bivol is scared of Beterbiev. Okay, I seriously doubt that. Somebody in the chat said he trembles at the name of Beterbiev. I don't know about all that. All I'm saying is this, right? I think Beeb has a great point. All these 168-pound dudes are bigger than Bivol. So I think Bivol can make the weight just fine. That's what I think. You know what I mean? If it's a good way to test a theory, I mean, if they do the rematch, it's more interesting if it's at 168. It's got to be honest. Yeah, it's just my opinion.
Is it?
And he might take it. He's going to take the shit out. Look, Ray Leonard did it to Donnie. You know what I mean? Pacquiao did it to Cotto. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying.
Floyd did it to Canelo Marquez in reverse.
Mayweather did it to Canelo. I'm just saying. All right. So like, but those were catchweights. So this will be an official weight class. You know what's more appropriate? Andre Ward did it to Shad Dawson. Shad Dawson moved down to fight Andre Ward, historian. He did it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. And don't get it twisted. He was a dumbass to do that. You understand? And the fact is, man, like he got it. We saw what happened. He was dehydrated, got up in there, and gave Ward his best knockout of his career. You understand? I mean, and he was talking his shit, and he went down 168. Now, me as an Andre Ward fan, now he was my favorite fighter in the whole 2010s of everybody. Even though I was happy as a fan of Ward, I knew that win, even though I don't take away from it, it would have been more impressive if Ward would have moved up to 175 and beat him and knocked him out in 175. That's just me.
No, for sure.
Here's the thing, though. Like, this is what it feels like. This is why I don't like it, and I'm surprised how many people are like all for this. Like,
I'm all for it. I agree with Beeb. I think you can make it just fine.
But here's my problem, right? I understand that having it 175 isn't interesting at all because we already just saw it and we realized Canelo can't do it. So what are we saying? That anytime like our favorite fighters or the best in the world like don't succeed in these ventures, that we should like bring the goal line back as much as possible to the point that gives them a better chance? Like, I feel like we're trying to find a loophole for Canelo to beat Bivol. It's like, well, we can bring him down to 168. And also he's going to have to use gloves that I just invented. Oh, instead of shoes, he's going to wear moccasins. Also, what if we just like, put a bunch of wigs on it? Like, it's just random stuff and I'm not saying that the weight thing is random. I'm just saying it's like, what are we doing that we're trying to like find narratives? Like, what does Bivol beating Canelo at 168 really prove?
It gives him undisputed, brother. He becomes the undisputed champion of the world. That's what it gives him.
So you're more interested in seeing Bivol, one of the best in the light heavyweight, maybe the best, compete at super middleweight and not unify the division?
No, he could still unify. Like hear me out.
Go ahead.
But Beterbiev and Smith are going to fight when? When are they fighting?
It's soon. It's like a few weeks. Like 2 weeks. No way. It's like, isn't it in May?
Is that close? Holy shit.
I thought it was. Maybe. Oh, June. I think it's in June.
Okay, they're going to fight in June, right? June. Okay, so like, if he fights Canelo for undisputed 168 in September,
right,
and becomes undisputed, and then like later on in the year or early next year or mid next year, he could fight Beterbiev. Okay, for undisputed 168. It could be a 2-division undisputed champion. Like, I'm just saying. And you know what? I agree with Beep. He ain't that big. He can make 168, no problem. So, let's do it.
Oh, but he's much bigger than Canelo. He was very much visibly bigger.
Yeah, but is he that much bigger than Plant?
He weighs.
And Canelo is small too, because we forget how many divisions he's really jumped up. You know what I mean? Like, so Canelo is kind of small.
And then here's what happens. Let's say it does strain him. Let's say Canelo beats him, and Bivol he obviously doesn't look the same, right? You go do the trilogy at 175.
Who's to say that him cutting that weight doesn't fuck up his career completely? Because we've seen that happen, right? Historian, how many names could you give us other than Roy Jones? I know you said that one the other day. Okay, you know what? I just caught myself. The amount of examples we have are mostly guys that go up to come back down, not go down to come back up. So I understand that. That's a fair point. But I still think playing around with weight is just something that only like a nostalgia-ass casual like Beeb would want.
This is all fucking nostalgia, man.
Look at that shirt, though. Look at that awesome shirt he's got on. Look at that shit.
This is all fucking nostalgia. I'm about to Hulk Hogan this motherfucker.
No.
Can't do it because that guy with the sock, he'll be in tears up in that left hand.
Hey, Beep, 168. They're against it, but you have an argument, right?
Here's the thing. He asked for the fight at 168. He asked for the fight at 168.
Just like Dawson did.
Remember Ray Leonard? Ray Leonard was like this with the big hook. And Donnie Lalonde was like this. Boom. 6'3" Donnie Lalonde. 190-pounder when he finished his career. And 147-pounder knocked him out. You know why? Because this sport has always been about skills. I'm fucking Bivol's height, and I'm 200 pounds. Bivol's like 10 times skinnier than me. Look at this. I have a 34-inch waist at 200 pounds.
His bone density is really heavy. That's really what it is. He's just like
now you're trying to tell me this guy's the mighty Thor? Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
Can he make 168?
Yes.
Should he make 168? That's a question.
Puts him on the pound for pound list. Champion unified at 168.
No way.
He's not pound at 175.
No way.
He should be a star.
He'll be in the Hall of Fame if he does this.
He's not pound for pound right now.
If he unifies light heavyweight, he doesn't have to go and unify super middleweight. And by the way, why are we having this conversation? It feels like this conversation is suggesting that he doesn't unify. Is everybody convinced after Saturday that Bivol's better that beats Beterbiev or Joe? Like, I think we all
beat Joe. Joe's leftovers for him.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And we're all convinced he beats Beterbiev, right?
Yes.
No. It's like the easy ticket. Like, cash it. If Canelo wants to be a dumbass and nobody in his corner loves him enough to say, you missed your shot. Go down and fight Charlo. There are fights there that are just as less appealing monetarily as any of the other fights you're going to get. You missed your shot. Just stop crying. Go back down. We'll try it again at some other time. But this feels like such a desperation.
I think Bivol asked for it at 168.
Asked for it at 168.
Of course, he wants any shot again at Canelo and doesn't want that to slip away.
Before he asked for it. Initially,
but I'm telling you,
initially he asked for it.
What if Canelo gives him like $10 million more dollars? And that's $10 million more.
There are 10 million reasons for him to take it. Sure, I get that.
Mario, Bivol's walk-around weight is 185 pounds.
I think if he could compete at
Canelo's
168,
walk-around weight is 181.
At 168.
These guys walk around at a 4-pound difference.
But Beeb, then why is he spending his entire career in a division where there's nobody to make pay-per-views with when he could be fighting at these divisions that, Charlo, make him American namesake? Like, come on.
There's only one Canelo,
sense.
Mario. There's only one Canelo.
What you guys are missing?
That's true.
Why is he going to go down there and fight Benavidez? Why is he going to go down there and fight Benavidez? And look at this.
Here's the thing. You guys are assuming that if he moves down, he's going to be weaker. Like maybe, but maybe he's stronger.
Could be.
He was not winning at 126. He moved back down to 118, and he started knocking guys out in the third, fourth round again. Like, what if Bivol has more power at 168?
Let me ask you this, honestly. Honestly, let me ask you this. If big ass David Benavidez can make 168, you don't think Bivol can? You really don't? Any of you guys on this panel?
What are you worried about his story? I seems like you're a little worried that if he fights at 168 against Canelo, that's what I'm sensing.
I think it's weak as hell, man.
Boxing historian. If David Benavidez can make 168, you don't think that Bivol can?
Well, like I said, they might have, look, they might be fucking. He might be killing himself to make weight, and I don't. And to me,
Caleb Smith looked like a cruiserweight against Canelo. You want to talk about a guy who was big? He looked like he was 200 pounds against Canelo. I'm not even lying. That's not even hyperbole. He looked like he was 200 pounds in that ring that night.
He was 190. He 190, but
6'3", this guy 6'3".
He ain't 6'3", he's 6 foot. Come on,
Smith. Callum Smith is 6'3".
Oh well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. He should be.
He looked like he weighed 200 pounds in the ring.
Well, why are you guys so against the rematch being at 168?
Because it's bullshit. That's why.
Why is it? Is it a legitimate weight class?
Let me ask you this. It's okay for Canelo to challenge himself. Why can't Bivol challenge himself too?
And look. In a perfect world, I agree with what G Funk is saying. I agree. Like, there's no need for a rematch. I agree 100%. But there was no need for a third Wilder Fury fight either, because we all knew it was knocking the fuck out.
Let me ask you this.
It's a contract.
They didn't make it because of that. Canelo doesn't have to take it. Like,
let me ask you this, D-Style. Was there a need for Canelo to fight him at 175?
Well, no.
No, because he already had 4 belts at 168. What did he have to prove the bag? He already won 170.
Totally
he already won 175-pound title.
He met him in his neighborhood. Listen, now Canelo wants him at his neighborhood.
But this was about Canelo, who unified the 168-pound division. Remember, this is a sport. This doesn't revolve around one guy. He became undisputed at 168. The whole point of this fight was him to go up and slay another dragon in another division. So to now change the optics of this fight and the
magic dragon,
what does it prove to the sport?
Why did Chad Dawson do it?
Because he already fought and lost or beaten.
Because he wanted to beat Andre Ward, who was the pound for pound champ at the time.
Exactly. And Bivol already did it. And Bivol did it already. What is the difference of doing it 168 versus 175?
Do it in his neighborhood. He shut down the excuses.
This is the narrative of this fight. Listen to Beeb, the promoter here.
Go ahead.
Listen to Beeb, the promoter here. They said that I beat him because I was bigger. They're dismissing the fact that my skills won this fight. So I'm going to go down to 168 and I'm going to fight him at his optimum weight, at his best, and I'm going to beat him at his best because apparently 175 isn't his best, and I'm not going to get credit for beating him because I beat a Canelo who wasn't fighting at his best in his best weight class, a guy who can't hold 175 and got tired. I'm going down to 168 and prove that I can beat him at his best.
You forgot the part where he says anything. You forgot the part where he says, and I'm taking B because he's the only one that said that the weight didn't matter. So now he's going to be my personal media guy and walk me out. So congratulations.
And look, I agree with his statement 100%, but Canelo has a rematch clause just like Wilder did.
I just saw that. Good point, G-Funk.
Yeah, like he has a rematch clause. Like, was there a reason to see Wilder Fury again after that second fight? No.
Gee, let me explain.
But it is what it is. There's a contract. Like, if he exercises it, there's nothing we could do.
But there weren't options for Wilder like there are.
Let me explain the scenario to G Funky because I'm gonna put a smile on his face right now. So say Bivol and Canelo rematched. Maybe they do it in November, right? Instead of September. We'll do it in November. Give Bivol a little extra time to get acclimated to 168, right? We'll do it in November, right? Then Smith and Beterbiev are going to be fighting in June, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing: they get their fight over in June, right? And then Canelo and Bivol get their fight done in November, right? There's still time in April of the following year to do the unification. You know what I'm saying? So the unification takes what? Maybe 2 or 3 months longer than you would have wanted it, possibly. You can wait 2 or 3 months, G-Funky. Come on. You're a patient guy.
Yeah, we have to wait. Like anyway, when it comes to boxing.
Plus
But
you
with
want
that
to build it
said,
up. You want to build it up. You want to build it up.
I'm actually glad that fight came up because first of all, let me tell you guys something. Beterbiev Bivol has been a fight that we've been talking about at 175.
Definitely.
Like that's been a fight, and for the longest time, I've been favoring Beterbiev. Okay, or Beterbiev. All right.
Joe Smith's going to win that fight, though.
But I don't think like he can't win because Bivol already beat him.
It's gonna suck if Joe Smith wins because I don't want to see. I don't want to see him.
You can't win.
I don't want to see him rematch Bivol, but he's gonna beat Beterbiev. Beterbiev's gonna be is like friggin' 38 years old too, for Christ's sakes.
I agree that Joe's got momentum for sure.
Well, you know, here's the thing, Mario. Beterbiev isn't the most defensively gifted guy in the world. He gets hit a lot, right?
For sure.
He's very heavy-handed, right? But he squares up a lot. He's a mid-range guy.
Very heavy-handed.
Joe Smith has got a very long reach. He's got a good jab. He can fight on the outside pretty decently, but he can also fight good in the inside. If Joe Smith can stay out of that mid-range area, he can outwork. And he brings a high volume. He's in great shape. He's a very, very well-conditioned athlete. And when people talk about taking a punch, then they attribute that to size. I'm not going to totally dismiss that, but the major factor of taking punches is conditioning. It's how your body can recuperate after being deprived. When that brain gets hit and that for that split second, your brain is deprived of that oxygen because it's under trauma. How your body is able to cardio and utilizing that oxygen and replenish that brain and wake you back up, that's conditioning. Joe Smith has that, right? He's got a chin of steel, tucks his chin. I think Joe Smith is going to outwork Beterbiev and get a decision. I'm just telling you, styles make fights.
This is destiny. Russian versus Russian. Beterbiev, Bivol, what are you doing?
Just like both Frazier and Frazier and Norton beat Ali, right? But Foreman destroyed them, both of them. And then, Ali beat Foreman. So styles make fights. And
this is destiny. Like, don't you understand? Like Bivol versus Beterbiev. Historian. First of all, do you think Smith beats? Like, do you believe he beats Beterbiev? What do you think?
His style is come forward in high volume, and to take a punch to give a punch, and he does have the longer reach. Yes, he does, and he can jab a little bit, but Beterbiev has a stiffer jab.
He's like this with a jab, like this.
Huh?
Here's another thing too.
With the jab.
No, I think he got about like 3 or 4 inch reach on him. But
here's another thing.
What's up?
Beterbiev likes to loop those shots. He's kind of a clubber. It reminds me of George Foreman the way he throws those punches. Joe Smith, he's down the middle, man. Got those long arms down the middle. He's like an octopus.
But
he's
you
like
know
an
what?
octopus.
But you know what? You throw those type of punches, those wide punches, because those wide punches have a lot of force behind.
That's nostalgia. Come on.
Oh, come on.
Man, look! If look how it's gonna go down.
Oh man!
Beterbiev is gonna be on the back foot a little bit, but he gonna have to stand his ground because he
squares up too, man. He squares up. You can hit him. Joe Smith's a great body puncher too. Joe Smith's gonna outwork him. Styles make fights.
You know what?
I gotta do this, guys. I gotta do this.
What's up?
I'm a hard-working man.
Now look at Joe Smith in that picture.
That's just a good song.
He's twice the size of Bivol.
I'm a hard-working man.
Look at the size of those shoulders.
Beterbiev,
those are union shoulders.
Beterbiev has knocked out every opponent he's faced, so I don't see how with this fight how that's not going to be. That's how that same result's not going to take place. He's going to knock the shit out of Joe Smith Jr. Joe Smith Jr. It's going to be entertaining for the first 7 rounds, and then that 7th or 8th round, he's going to get clipped with one of those haymakers. It's going to be felt like he got hit with bricks.
He knows what it is.
Let me get Calix in here.
A hard day, man. He knows what it is to put in.
Hey, Calix, do you think Joe Smith has a shot against Beterbiev, brother?
I'm picking Beterbiev clearly to win this fight.
Damn.
But the hardworking man is going to come in and work hard, and The atmosphere.
I'm a hard working man.
But I just think that Bivol and Beterbiev, whatever we want to call them, the two best guys in the division, and that's going to be blood. I don't want anything to get in the way of that. That's the fight I want to see.
You know what else though? Like I feel like Beeb, like we already seen Bivol like a boxsmith. Like, why do you want to see that for Undisputed? Like, for what?
I don't want to see it. I'm just telling you, looking at it from a style standpoint. I actually want Beterbiev to win the fight.
But Beterbiev to me is a guy who looks better, or he's better than he looks on film. And Bivol ended up being that guy too, right? Like Bivol, we saw him on film. We've seen him fight over the years, and we're like, we've never seen this guy get out of third gear. So yeah, it could be he hasn't respected the competition, but it also could be he doesn't have the killer instinct. And that fooled me because I didn't think he had a killer instinct that he showed against Canelo. And Bivol ended up being much better than he was given credit for on film. And I think Beterbiev could be one of those guys too. He just hits so hard, man. Like he doesn't have to be perfect. That guy hits like a mule, like a freight train.
I will say if the hardworking man,
I'm a hard working man.
if he could take the punches, then he has a shot, babe. Like if his chin is that good, which I doubt.
But can I say something?
Yeah.
First of all, Beterbiev's not the fastest guy in the world, right? He kind of he imposes
the best 6-inch punches.
He imposes his will on you. Like you'll block the shot and he'll like kind of force it through your guard and you'll block it and then you'll end up punching yourself in the face trying to block it. I get all that, but Joe Smith has a very, very sturdy defensive construct. He puts those hands up, tucks that chin. He knows what it's like to punch him for a day's work, man. He puts that hard hat on. He's ready to go. He's ready to fucking go. He's like this.
He just wants me to play it again.
Like
Look at him.
Throws that jab, man. I want to hit someone right now thinking about this.
I'm a hard working man.
Is that Brooks and Dunn?
Yeah.
It's a good song.
But here's what I want to ask you guys. I want to go around really quick and ask you guys. Let's say Beterbiev wins. Let's say Beef's pipe dream that the hardworking man wins doesn't win, right? Let's just hypothetically be. Let's say Beterbiev wins.
Holy shitting all over the hardworking man by saying
who wins that fight? Undisputed, 175 pounds. Mario, Beterbiev, I still don't even know how you say that name.
Mine's going to be very quick. My answer is going to be quick. I am exactly where you were. What you said put me down. I thought when I was asked this question before on podcasts throughout the last few years, I've been saying I thought Beterbiev wins. Edges him out. I thought it was a very close fight. I'm not convinced of that anymore. I think Bivol wins now. I think that there's little question he wins, but God, do I want to see that fight. And I think that's more my problem with the 168 thing than anything else, because Beeb's been up here, selling a great fight that isn't even the undisputed fight. One of those winners, whether it's the guy he says is going to win or the guy that is going to win, fights Bivol next. That's a great fight. He's been selling this fight the whole time. Promoter Beeb's been doing a great job. I don't feel the same way about any other fight that could be promoted at 168. That's, I think, the biggest reason for me.
All right. Fair enough. Historian, who wins that fight, man? Bivol or Beterbiev? You're muted, brother.
Yeah, you can play out either one or two ways. It's going to be tough for both guys. I'm going to have to go with Bivol. No. I'm going to have to go with Beterbiev by knockout. He's going to be losing on the scorecards, but that pressure is going to eventually get to Bivol. And
the disrespect.
Yeah, that stiff jab is going to crack right through that guard. It's not like Canelo's little pity patter punches that he was throwing. It's gonna be bricks hitting him. He ain't just gonna be blocking. You don't block bricks with your fist, man. So
all right, Calix, what do you got, brother?
This is an easy win for me. After what I saw Saturday night, I am not picking anybody against Bivol from 175 down. Not happening. That guy was masterful on Saturday night. Masterful. I know y'all probably talked about the fight already. I have my own thoughts on it, but that was a masterful performance, and I'm not picking anybody against Bivol from here on out from 175 down. I don't see that guy out there right now beating him.
Can I ask you real quick? Did size play a factor in Bivol's win?
I saw this debate going on out there, and I think it's semantics for the most part. I think they go hand in hand, right?
Well said.
All right.
They go hand in hand.
Well said. Yeah, you're right. It's like one thing affects the other. It doesn't really matter if your skills are like what we saw, you don't really notice it. And that's what I think happened. I think people it wasn't super clear because of how sharp he just was through 12.
Canelo's always going to be 5'8", Mario. There's nothing that's going to ever change that.
What do you got, B?
Very well
What do you got in that fight?
Bivol.
It's like that. He didn't even think about it. He didn't even take a second.
He's been saying that for like 3 years now, 4
Bivol.
maybe. He's been saying Bivol beats the whole division for a very long time.
Bivol.
I can't count out Beterbiev. I'm gonna call him Beterbiev because that's what Vajda called him, and I think Vajda probably know. I think he know. Plus, it rhymes with Beterbiev. You know, like you're not gonna go for Beterbiev.
Can't do it.
You know what Bivol has gone in that fight though? Have you seen his CompuBox stats? I mean, they're off the charts defensively. He's number one. He's statistically the best defensive fighter.
Never landed as many low, even against Floyd. He landed more.
Calix, tell me if I'm wrong here, because this is another narrative I'm hearing, and just please tell me if I'm wrong. Oh well, he took Canelo's best shots, and he didn't even feel it. That's why
he's quoting me, by the way. He's quoting me.
No, I'm not. I'm actually not quoting you. I'm quoting this guy. This guy that I argued R&R. I'll name drop this guy R&R. You never said that. You didn't say that.
I know.
Did you say that?
Well, I did say he took he ate like some of his punches like nothing. Yes.
You know what is best? You know what Canelo?
My
Canelo
thing is
landed
this.
one.
That's not a dig at him.
Remember the shot Canelo landed early? It's the uppercut. He landed that uppercut.
But
that's the only like big shot I saw.
But did it even land flush? Because it looked to me like he kind of.
Yeah,
I promise you, Bivol felt. Look, you don't fuck up an arm the way that he fucked up his arm, and you didn't feel it.
First of all, the reason, in my opinion, why he couldn't hurt Bivol was because Bivol's defense. He landed single-digit punches in every round. He was most of the shots. 10th. I mean, can I be honest with you? If he hits Bivol with that same punch he hit Plant with, he knocks Bivol out. He knocks Bivol out because Plant leaned into that shot, right?
He'll knock Bivol out.
He'll knock Bivol out if he lands that same shot.
Well, just for some compare and contrast, Canelo was 17% on the night, and for compare and contrast, he was 43% on the night he fought Callum Smith. So you get what I'm saying? Like he landed the fewest punches he's landed.
He didn't really.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys saw that, but
he's pointing to his arm.
Canelo, if Canelo lands clean on just about anyone from 168 to 175, he could get them out of there.
But look, Mario just hit on a great stat, 17%. So that's unheard of. No, none of us thought that he was going to only land 17%. Maybe boxing historians said that, but none of us thought 17. 17th, and like Beeb is about to say, I don't think it was that much. I think it was closer.
Well, I mean, he had a mouse right here. I mean, he was hurt. Right? I mean, he was hit at some point.
But these 12% of total punches.
A mouse right here.
I didn't think he had a scratch on his face. You know what's crazy, Calix? Listen to this stat. Look, have you ever seen a fight where an end swell was never? They didn't even put an end swell on his face. They didn't even put an end swell on his face.
What you're pointing at? Yeah, what you're pointing at? He has like. It always looks like he has black eyes.
He has bags under his eyes.
If you look at the post-fight interviews, he doesn't have anything on his face. It's all on his
arm. They didn't even put an end swell on it. They didn't even put any type of swelling device on his face at all. All they did was put Vaseline. They didn't even take a rag and wipe him. All they did was put Vaseline on his face.
We were heading to the 8th. He looked fresh.
Yeah, he's like the Matrix in there.
Exactly. He looked like he was coming into the 3rd round, and it was like 8 or 9. You know what I mean? And what about that part where Canelo started capping and standing in the corner? I was like, oh my God, bro, you're supposed to be the best in the world. And you're standing right now, knowing you're getting your ass kicked, knowing you're tired as shit. We can see it on your face, but whatevs.
Yeah, let me ask Calix the question I asked you guys. Calix, Bivol Canelo 2 at 168 pounds.
Yeah,
You want to see it?
I don't see any.
Like, because I respect anybody's opinion who says I don't want to see the fight again. I get it, but he has a rematch clause. So if he exercises it, we're going to get it whether we like it or not.
Right.
So if we do get it, I mean, does 168 make it more interesting for you?
No, and first of all, to answer that, I would do the same thing Canelo would as a competitor, right? He said, the first thing he said when asked, he's like, this can't end this way. So as a competitor, he's going to want the rematch. He's going to exercise it, and I respect that. As a fan, I don't want to see it, but I respect that. But 175, 168, as much as we talk about the size, and yes, size can be a factor, but they're going to be the same height, same reach going in. One's just going to be more drained coming in the second time. But stylistically, it doesn't matter if the fighter is greater overall. Some guys stylistically have a problem with fighter B, no matter how many times they fought. As boxing, we've all followed this sport for decades, so we've all seen examples.
I've always
of
said
that.
You're one of the smartest analysts, probably the smartest analyst on YouTube. I've always said that.
Appreciate that.
He never says that about me.
You've been off your game lately. I don't know what's been going on. You may be having something going on in your personal.
Hey, I picked Fury. I picked Fury to dominate White. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
That was one of your better
And
moments.
I must say,
those are far and few between.
But I must say I was wrong about this, and the guy right here to the left of me,
he called it to
he was right. He nailed this one.
Well, he had to redeem himself because I think he was picking White to beat Fury.
No.
You said he had a shot.
But I do want to touch on this real quick.
Really quick, go ahead.
The defensive stats for Bivol are off the charts, and him and Shakur Stevenson back-to-back weekends, the two best fighters statistically in the sport, put on great defensive performances in this fight, and it all started with the jab. And it's funny how Bivol and Shakur Stevenson mirror each other in a lot of ways, not so much stylistically, but how we've viewed these fighters coming in to this fight. And I know you want to get to Maestro, so I don't want to take up too much time, but we'll get more to that. I got more to say about that.
What's up, legend?
Maestro,
what's going on, yo? I'm not going to be that long, but I got to agree with Beeb on one thing and disagree with Beeb on another thing. So the one thing I'm going to agree with Beeb on is this. The actual size difference between Bivol and Canelo is not as great as a lot of people are making it out to be. Canelo is a hell of a lot thicker than Bivol. Bivol's taller than him, but he's a very slender dude, very slender. And it was mostly skill that
what happened?
He was about to drop a gem. I think you blocked. You're doing that.
I didn't do anything.
He was schooling you.
You're Maestro there.
Wi-Fi that I got connected to. I'm good now, right?
Yeah, you're great. You're great.
I'm good now, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hello?
Yeah, I got you.
It's better
shit.
for sure.
Oh shit. All right. I'm back now, right?
Yes.
All right. So I'm a fairly big dude. I stood next to Bivol. He's very slender. Canelo though is really thick. He's a big guy. So, he's stocky. He's like a running back almost, like from the NFL that's cut down in weight. Like it was not a size issue that beat him on Saturday. It was a skill issue. The size factor came into play because Bivol has been accustomed to fighting very strong punchers. So he was able to resist that. The second thing is that Bivol called for the 168. Canelo said nothing about that. Bivol said it at the post-fight press conference. He said he'd do it, and he said he'd do it to be undisputed. And why the hell not? Joe Smith is going to be facing Beterbiev. And by the way, I asked Stan from allboxing.ru, Russian media outlet. It is Beterbiev, not Beterbiev. So D-Style was right about that. I've been saying Beterbiev. It's Beterbiev. I was told that by a native Russian speaker. Anyways, he's going to be taking on Joe Smith, right? So, I mean, why not take on Canelo for all four belts and then beat Canelo when there's no excuses? Because what's the excuse going to be then if he beats him? He's doing it at his weight class, win the fight, and then move up. All right? Now, last thing I'm gonna say before I move out, Joe, you're not gonna put your hands up on this one. All right. I got Beterbiev beating Joe Smith. I'm sorry.
Fine. That's fine.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
It is what it is.
He still paid you. It's okay.
You guys can see. You guys can see I'm still out here. I don't fly back until later tonight. I'm going to be going out to dinner real quick, and I'm going to continue to listen in on the show. I'm going to copy Ellie's setback reporting. I'll see you guys later.
Comedy. Listen,
I mean, he said
thing,
some golden words. Did you see what he did? How he scolded you at the end right there? Scold you like he ain't gonna win.
Reporting.
Wait,
real quick, I just want to say this one thing about his point, real quick. Okay,
sure.
I understand what he's saying, and Beeb actually made that very clear to me as well. I get the reasons why it seems like lucrative. To me, the two problems I have with what Maestro said are this. Number one, I'm not like a Bivol fan or like a Canelo fan. I'm a fan of boxing. So I don't know what a fight that we saw at 175 happening at 168. I don't see what it answers that we didn't already answer, to the rest of us. Like, I'm not rushing it. I'm not a huge like Canelo mark. The other thing that I don't think really makes a lot of sense.
There's a first time for everything.
That's true.
Mario, can I interject?
One last thing. I don't feel like it lines up. Everybody keeps saying, "Oh, well, he's fighting better Joe Smith next." It's like, yeah, but then if you're gonna have another Canelo fight in September, we're just pushing it further back. So that's the only point. My bad. Go ahead, Beep.
If we're forced to have this fight, it's not intriguing at 175. So
right.
In order to make it interesting, it's better at 168 because we're gonna get it one way or the other, right?
And I'll tap out at that point. That one point, I'll tap out. You're right. If it's gonna happen, I'll take it at 168.
If I have to get it, I don't want it at 175. I want it at 168 because I don't want to hear the same bullshit. Oh, I'm little bitty Canelo. All of a sudden, Canelo is a fucking. He's
an itty bitty little Lomachenko.
He's a Smurf now.
He's a 75-pound Lomachenko, 135.
All of a sudden, Canelo is a hobbit. Poor little Canelo.
He's a little dude. He's 5'7".
Poor little Canelo.
I have a question.
He's like right here to me.
I'm not trying to make a point by asking this. I'm really interested. What weight class did Bivol start his career at?
175 is what correct.
Wasn't it 175?
So and Canelo started.
I'll be a liar if I told you I knew what weight class he started at, but as long as I've known since he was on HBO, he was 175.
Bivol was 150. Bivol was 154 in the amateurs, though.
Okay, but what I'm saying is,
see how slim he is?
Size.
He looked like Bruce Lee out there. Like, think about it.
He's had his footing at 175 for a while, so size does come into play. No matter what they're walking around at right now, size does come into play. But here's where that blows up is Canelo specifically moved up in weight because he takes advantage of fighters being taller than him. He loves fighting fighters who are taller than him.
That's a good point.
Because he turns their height and reach advantage and turns it into a disadvantage when he takes the jab away and starts digging to the body. He could not do that in this fight. Bivol, this fight was on his terms. And Canelo wanted this fight. And he may have misjudged here, and you got to respect Canelo for taking this fight because it's one of the toughest fights. Bivol and Beterbiev, we've all said those are the two toughest fights between 160 and 175. So I'll give him credit, but he likes fighting taller guys. He didn't like it Saturday night because the taller guy had skill, and because of that skill, he was able to execute a style in which he was able to use his height and reach advantage for 12 rounds consistently. Well, and Canelo landed 7 punches per round. If we're taking that at face value, I think it's less than that. He landed a handful of punches per round on average.
Here's another thing too, Calix. When you move up in weight, you're used to the guys being slower, and Bivol's not slow.
No.
All the other guys weren't slow, but they were slow.
Pat was fast. Pat's a fast guy.
I'm glad you brought that point up too, though, because I know a boxing historian will know this because he's probably I've heard him speak. I know he's got a basketball background as well. I've had these conversations. I'm 6'3". I've had these conversations with smaller guards because I was considered a bigger guard. And they were 5'8", 5'9", and they were like, "Oh, I wish I had your height. I wish I had your size. I'd be on a different, I'd be on a different level." But what I tell them is, If you had 6 more inches of height, you would be giving away quickness naturally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But Bivol, what makes these athletes special, like a Tyson Fury, we talk about him in basketball, LeBron,
He
Shaq,
was like a gazelle, that guy.
is they move like gazelles. Like they're not supposed at that size. They're not supposed to be light on their feet. And if you watch Bivol in training camp and you watch this
Great
guy
point.
move, he's light on his feet.
Yeah,
With a feather.
Plant had quick hands, but he didn't have the foot speed that Bivol had.
Mm-mm.
He has quick hands.
No, he didn't have the discipline to stay grounded to his
That's
game.
another
Like
thing.
Bivol never faltered from the game plan, because even when you're controlling a fight of that magnitude, like it'll dawn on you to say, well, let me see if I can get the stoppage. Well, you know what? I'm up 8 or 9. I'm good. I can lose the next 3. Let me run. Like people lose their shit in those moments. The fact that he stayed the course, that needs to be one of the most impressive things that we take
Even
away
my
from
brother,
Saturday
who's
night.
not a boxing fan, was watching it. And he's saying, look how this guy he's so calm, and
Dude,
he doesn't like
Remember-
fight out of it. He doesn't,
Hey,
like,
remember when
Yeah, his
Canelo
facial
was
expression.
waving
Yeah.
him in?
Yes.
Canelo was
and then
waving him
and then
in
he
for the
goes,
rope.
"You come out here, baby.
Like,
Yeah.
You come out here, daddy.
Yeah, that was
I'm
great.
Hey,
inviting
I want to.
I'm
You
inviting
guys,
you to sleep over my
you
house
guys,
tonight. Come to the
you
center of the ring, baby."
you brought up his name, okay? Akira Plant tweeted this after the fight.
oh, God.
Or I don't know if it was after the fight, but he tweeted it just yesterday, actually. I think a lot of you silly motherfuckers really think I asked him, I'm pretty good, huh? Y'all really think I was asking for approval, but I already know I'm great. Fighter's not a good fighter. He thought I was a great fighter, not a good fighter. I thought he thought it was going to be a cakewalk. So when it wasn't, I wanted to hear him say it. Like he wanted Canelo to submit and admit that he was a good fighter. But he also said in another tweet, he wasn't going to just stand in the corner like he did against Chavez Jr. All right. I looked over and his ass was sitting down on the stool in the second half of that fight. That's what he said. I just want to know your thoughts on this, Beeb.
You know, I don't want to go in on Caleb Plant, because if I met him today, I would apologize to him, because I thought he was going to get destroyed in that fight. And I don't think he really did. I thought he held a good account of himself. I had the fight even up until the point of the stoppage.
If you have to apologize to Plan, I mean, you have to do like 20 Hail Marys for Bivol.
Yeah, I have to do that as well. I have to apologize to Bill. I put that on my bucket list too. That's on my little journal. But I honestly think that I told you this earlier. I think Plant's just trying to reconcile the loss a little bit. I'm going to cut him some slack. There is a kind of a grieving period, right, after a hard loss like that. It's his first loss. So I'm going to cut him some slack. I don't agree with the whole thing. I think he's trying to try to boost himself up here, trying to validate himself, and looking at little things that probably don't really matter much. I mean, at the end of the day, you lost a fight, you got knocked out. Nothing's going to change that. But you can hold your head high, because you took the guy 11 rounds. I think you won at least 4 or 5 of those 11 rounds, right? You made a good account of yourself. So just look at it that way and move on. But at this point in time, a lot of this I'm going to cut on some slack on, because again, he's just trying to reconcile the loss at this point, and he'll get through it. He'll get through it in time.
Hey, history, before I go to you, he put, I was asking because I already knew the answer, not because I didn't know. Y'all funny as fuck if you think different. I'm pretty good, huh? Like I said, AKA, yeah, motherfucker, you better use a stool because you're not about to Chavez Jr. me and stand up the whole fight. Then he followed up by saying, I'm in a whole different stratosphere than him, and you'll respect me as such. By the way, he was talking about Chavez Jr., not about Canelo, not about Bivol. People thought, like, if you look at these tweets, he's clearly talking about Chavez Jr. Just FYI. But what do you make of it, historian? He made him sit in a stool.
I think he needs to just shut his goddamn trap, man.
Whoa.
I mean, first off, look, Chavez Jr. Listen to Chavez Jr. is a fucking bum. All right.
Oh,
Fucking bum.
whoa!
Right. That's what he is. He got a couple lucky wins because he was walking around 200 pounds, knocking out guys that are 154 pounds walking around. That's not impressive. And that's not impressive that you beat the motherfucker, bro. Like, he needs to just shut the hell up, man. You just got knocked the fuck out, man. And you probably ain't never getting no goddamn belts back, man. Just sit back, count your goddamn money and shit. I don't know. Hey, retire. He ain't beating Benavidez. He ain't beating nobody. He ain't beating Dave Morrell, who's coming up in there. He need to go ahead and sit his ass down somewhere, bro.
Hey, Mario, what you think, man? I mean, he said he looked out. He's like, oh, yeah, motherfucker, you're going to sit on the stool. That's right.
Yeah, that's some weird energy. Like, I don't get it. It's like if I'm playing basketball with somebody who thinks I'm really shitty at basketball, and I'm like, oh yeah, I just passed it. Didn't think I could do that. Like, you set the bar so low. Like, it doesn't really feel like an accomplishment, but whatever. I mean, I'll be honest though. This isn't even the worst tweet. I mean, to me, Mayweather posting his Bivol, like, I personally don't have a small dick. So like, I don't usually I don't do stuff like that typically, but I get the syndrome of it. And then somebody real quick, I just want to point this out. I'm done, but I just want to point this out. I like how people are like, can't ever talk shit about Floyd. He picks them right every time. You notice every time he shows us his betting slips, he gets it right. It's like, yeah, every time he shows us his betting slip, he gets it right. I mean, I don't know who's doing the accounting over there, but
we call those guys touts in the gambling world.
Exactly.
That's what we call them. Call them touts.
How many did it bet on Canelo? Because I have a feeling he bet both.
He hedged.
Yeah, I good point. Good point. People rewind that and hear what he said.
How many freaking basketball bets did you lose over the weekend?
And here's how I know, by the way, because he's quick to tell people, like the guys he thinks, like Benavidez, the PPC guys, he was trashing the other side on Matchroom, right? So I know Calix, what do you think, brother? What do you think? Caleb Plant broke his silence about talking to what he got criticized for basically. You could interpret it however you want. The conversation he had with Canelo in the ring. What do you think?
You don't get a W by making a guy sit in his stool in between rounds. Like, that's not a W. And then Floyd betting 10,000 is like, dude, he's about to make millions to fight on the side. He's fighting on a skyscraper. I still can't get over this. He's fighting on the side of a skyscraper on a helipad. I still don't understand that. So he's making millions to do that. He's already made millions. So betting 10,000 is like me betting $1. Like,
for real. Good point. Good point.
I'm going to use
I didn't get where you were going with that, but I get it now. You're right. It was like you probably did like 9 of those.
I'm going to use another basketball analogy. It's like when you play this dude and he always burns you to the right side, right? Then you make him go left, but he still burns you. Oh, I made you go left.
That's a good one.
Still scored. Doesn't matter.
That's a good one. I'm going to use that.
James Harden. I made James Harden go right. He still hit a 3 on me, but
I
made him go right.
James Harden ain't shit, man.
Usually dunk on me, but this time I made you stick the J in my face. Fucking kid.
You rub your balls across my forehead when you're dunking. But this time.
I've developed a rule on Twitter. Like, I give people like 72 hours. You got to give them like a 72-hour window after like a big fight, because so many of the dumbest things I've ever read on Twitter are within that 72-hour range of a big fight. Like, I've seen the dumbest things over the past 2 nights on Twitter. It's been incredibly bad. And a lot of them comes from fighters. And it just shows you that just because you're a fighter doesn't mean you know the sport as well as just some basic observers. So, but I don't know, man. I give Plant some credit for how he fought as well, just like Beeb. I thought he did some good things in the fight. I gave him like 3 or 4 rounds as well. I thought he conducted himself well. I think a lot of the stuff that we heard after the fight during the fight and after the fight about him trying to get some credit from Canelo as he's fighting and then how they're hugging after. I felt like a lot of that was overplayed, to be honest. But Plant, has some good matchups at 168. Some guys moving up to 160. I'd like to see him in there with Charlo. I'd like to see him against Benavidez. I'd like to see him against Morrell Jr. So there are good fights there for him to come back and prove himself, right? So we'll see if he can do that. But that's what we need to see from Plant. Move forward, put that in the rear view. Let's move on because there's some good fights to be made at 168, not involving Canelo. You're on mute.
You know, I was watching the Canelo Floyd fight, and Floyd sat in the corner every round. I'm just like, that's all I'm saying.
You know who the better fighter is.
Really quick, I saw Maidana out there in Vegas. Does he really have Floyd's tooth? What do you guys think? Does he really have his tooth?
Does he?
Well, he's walking around with a necklace saying he's got the tooth.
Did Floyd
He
really
gave
lose a
his,
tooth?
I believe it's his manager. It was out in Vegas with him.
But
And they
Kellex,
put
he
Floyd's
shows
tooth.
the tooth, but it doesn't mean it's Mayweather's. Oh yeah, look.
From the story that I gathered, and this is backed up by several sources, they knocked out Floyd's tooth in the first fight. He gave it to his manager. I believe it's his manager. Somebody on his team put it on their chain, and he walks around. He was walking around Vegas with it this past weekend with Floyd's tooth on the chain.
You buy a beat.
There's one way we can solve this problem.
DNA.
Find out who Floyd's dentist is and ask him if he's got a crown there.
I don't know. Maidana looks like the kind of guy that would know where to find loose adult teeth. He just gives that vibe.
He probably just went to the streets of Argentina, like knocked him out of some dude.
Exactly.
Like,
They probably
Like,
sell him
remember-
at the convenience store there. Oh,
Hey, he got a dog in him, man. I'll tell you.
no, for real. That's what I'm saying. It looks
Wait,
like. he
remember
knows
in
exactly how
Bloodsport
to
when
get
that guy
teeth.
with the golden tooth gets his tooth knocked out?
Oh, you talking about
Great part.
the Arab
Great
dude?
scene.
That's the
Yeah,
stuff.
and then the guy that goes and grabs it.
That's the stuff.
Is that what like Madonna's trainer did or what?
That's
What's going on over here?
Come on, that's
Kumite.
nostalgia.
Yeah, keep it box. That's right. Please no racism comments. Keep it boxing, says Tony Boswell. That goes without saying, of course, without a shadow of a doubt. Okay, the vegan thing. I kind of wanted Maestro's opinion, and maybe I'm hoping Maestro talks about it tomorrow in mano a mano. But because he's vegan himself, right? So
Did you hear that? Did you hear it was debunked?
no. Well, talk to us about it. Well, what's this whole vegan thing?
No, there was a video that came out where he was being interviewed and he was asked about it, and he didn't go full vegan. He just said he cut back 50% on his meat, and he was eating a lot of fish.
So what is that like? Half
pes-
vegan?
Like a pescatarian type diet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't.
So do you think there's any valid? Is vegan gate a real thing? Like it's
No, it's not. It's not. It was debunked. Shout out to Lady Chan because she did a video on it and she showed the interview where he said that he wasn't vegan.
Because people are saying, oh, he wasn't getting his meat. You know what I mean? Pause, but like, he wasn't getting his meat or whatever.
Yeah.
Carlos, what do you think?
No, I'm on a high protein diet. I've been on it for 6 months. I feel best I've ever felt. But I went on a vegetarian diet for 40 days years ago. It was the worst experience I've ever had. I'll never do that again. But what I was going to say is if he's on a diet that he's replacing meat with fish, you still get your protein from the fish.
Sure.
I have a lot of fish meals that I eat shrimp as well. So
I
you're
love
still
shrimp.
getting your protein there. So there's no excuse here. Look, Bivol won. And Bivol won because he was the better fighter on Saturday night. That's it. Once you start getting down to, he shouldn't have switched his diet. And even if he did switch his diet, that's his fault. It's his fault. He switched it. So I don't know. Too many excuses.
Yeah.
That's right. Sorry, what do you think, brother?
I think it's a bunch of bullshit, man. Personally,
I love when he kicks him like that.
I mean,
It's what's
love
being
this.
said. Like even
love
if he
this
cut
guy.
it, like if he cut half, you know what I mean? Could that have hurt him?
man, I never heard no vegetarian army. All right, now are there fighters out there being vegan and I'm gonna replace my protein with cashew seeds,
I
nuts,
fucking love it.
beans? Cool, that sound good, but I mean, hey, I'm not steak, chicken. I mean, look, even if it is just this much, you're gonna eat something. Now, as far as him being vegan and that affecting him in the fight, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Timothy Bradley was vegan all his career.
Bernard Hopkins.
Bernard Hopkins, yeah, never ate a candy bar since 1988 or whatever. Well, that's his words or whatever. And look,
Called
it didn't
soda
affect them.
poison. Called soda poison.
Yeah, I think that Canelo's full of shit. You know why? Because why the fuck was he drinking and having a good time after the damn fight, after he got his ass whooped? That's my question.
Right. Well, Mario, you make anything of now the half vegan diet?
Yeah, not at all. I mean, I think Cal said it best. Like, you're gonna switch up your diet. Like, you're a professional athlete at this level, and you're gonna take like gambles with like routine stuff like nutrition and exercise. Like, that's on you. But look, I've known so many people in my life who have said, "Oh my God, I did the vegan diet and I feel so much better." Or, I did the carnivore diet, I feel so much better. Like, the truth is the body reacts different to different things. There's no one cut clear thing, but it is extremely hard to get protein on a vegan diet. Not impossible, but super not cheap. So, I'm not saying that it couldn't be a thing. Like, he could have gone vegan, but at the end of the day, that's his fault 100%. And if that's a reason you lost, then I promise you're not looking hard enough into other places. If that's where your blame is going to go.
The one thing about that diet that I've noticed, because I've tried it too, is because you're eating beans and you're eating tofu and all that stuff, and that stuff has so much fiber in it.
Mm-hmm.
You get like an uncomfortable bloat sometimes on that diet because you're consuming so much fiber.
I felt terrible.
I get that protein.
Did you feel bloated? Did you feel bloated on it, Calix?
I did, and I didn't
because you know why your fiber goes.
Are you saying Canelo maybe was bloated? Like,
he had to take a giant.
He had a six pack. He had a six pack. Come on,
he had a six pack. He doesn't count. He had a six pack. He did look a little bloated, right? Like, if you look at the weigh-in, a little bit.
I thought he was jacked, but I don't really.
I thought he looked jacked, man.
Yeah, I just kidding.
I don't think Canelo, to his credit, I don't think he even brought this up after the fight. I think it's the fan. I think it's the extreme part.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
good point. You said it. The 72-hour window you got to give people. I saw it. I'm not going to even like. You want to have a conversation, like a real conversation about veganism and protein and how it affects the body. Great, I'm all in. But you want to just start throwing. He lost because he was eating half the amount of meat that he usually does. Like, I don't know about that. Sounds stupid.
It sounds bad on his part to me, man.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, man. But look, I just want to give both guys here. Well, first, actually, before I forget this one, really quick, Oscar De La Hoya tweeted out right after the fight, "It's not too late to come to the best promoter in boxing."
Stop it.
So since you talked first, babe, since I like that reaction, I want you to go first. What do you make it De La Hoya wanting? He's like, come back here. Like, I would have gotten you a judge at least. You know what I mean? I would have hooked you up with at least one. Like, I'm just one judge would have scored it a draw with me.
He can't help himself, man. He just needs attention. That's what it is. Just needs attention. That's all I can say. I actually really feel bad for the guy. At first, I used to get irritated with him, but now I really feel bad for him. I think he really has some issues. Really has issues.
Here's my thing. If I could just add something, right, before I get Calix's take on this. For a long time, Canelo was subsidizing the rest of the Golden Boy fighters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he got a sweet deal with his own because he had the leverage of having Canelo, right? And then, like, they weren't making money with any of the other fighters. Like, they were subsidizing through Canelo, and I think Canelo caught on to that. Right, and I don't think he was happy about it, especially being kept in the dark about the deals and all that, and the deal Oscar made. Look at his story, and he doesn't want to hear about Oscar De La Hoya, but I'm going to make him talk about Oscar De La Hoya. You know what I mean? He will talk about Oscar De La Hoya. In fact, he's next. You know what I mean? But Oscar De La Hoya wants Canelo back. He wants to promote Canelo. Look, right, bro, you got Sinise Estrada saying, "Yo, they ain't paying me. Like, I want to get paid." You got fighters that are like, "Yo, I ain't getting paid." You want Canelo to go over there? But I don't. It's whatever. But what do you think? You think it'll be a good move for Canelo to return to Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions, historian?
Hell no.
Elaborate. Talk to
No.
us.
Why would I wait? I didn't even know about that. So
He tweeted out like, "Yo, you got to come back to Pop." You know what I mean?
but he's not paying his fighters though, and they're complaining about not getting paid. Like,
Some fighters are complaining about it. Yes.
Golovkin sued him.
oh my God, you know what? Golden Girl Promotions, man.
Whoa.
Why the hell would he go back there when he's making all these moves right now? Yes, the loss brings his stock down a tad bit, but what the hell? You go right back to the same guy through his mischievous activities in past times. This is the same guy that lost a whole stable of fighters from his promotion. Like, come on, man. Like, no. Go, man. That whole thing with Golden Girl Promotions, that shit's gone, man. Like, why? Like somebody said in the chat room or in the private, or not in the private, but in the chat, is Golden Girl Promotions is a sinking ship. It is. Shit is over with, man. Nah. I mean, why downgrade when you're on the up and up?
And here's another thing.
Makes sense.
So you have Joshua Franco, who's fought his last 3 fights, maybe 2, but nonetheless, he had 2 fights with Maloney. Joshua Franco did on Top Rank. Your fighter was going to Top Rank in ESPN to get paid. Now you have an opportunity to get your fighter paid against Gallo Estrada, and you bid $140,000 for the both of them. And you think Canelo's going to be like, oh yeah, totally. I want to go to this dude. Like, I don't know, man. It's Calix. What do you make of this tweet right here? It isn't too late yet to switch back with the best promoter.
I don't want to spend too much time on this, but once again, 72-hour window. And you got to remember it's the weekend, so you never know what Oscar is on the weekend. So let's give it till like Tuesday, Wednesday. Let's see what midweek Oscar has to say. But if you actually scroll down to the next tweet, he's actually giving credit to Canelo on that tweet from May 5, because I remember that tweet when he's saying Canelo is carrying on the torch. So it just gets confusing when he's giving credit to, Canelo's the next in the lineage for the Cinco de Mayo fighter. So it just gets confusing with Oscar because he's all over the place. But he has a love-hate relationship, it seems, with Canelo, but it's mostly hate because he wishes that Canelo was still in the cage.
No, but just 2 months ago, he was telling people that Canelo can't fight worth the shit, and he can come back and knock him out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, by the way, Kevin Lozzi, Austria would have not let Canelo fight Bivol, in my opinion. Probably not. Who knows? Well, what do you make of it, Mario?
Yeah, this is a tough issue or tough thing to talk about because it's like, man, De La Hoya meant, like, growing up in South Texas, right? Like, De La Hoya was everything when I was a kid. Middle school, high school, it was like that was the big fight. That was the fight that would get everybody to come over to the crib. And now it's like I'll do anything to get away from a conversation when people bring them up. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, even if it's like, well, how do you think he'd do against it? I just don't want to talk about it anymore because everything he does is cringe, first of all, and says is cringe, first of all. Second of all, it reeks of desperation. Like, what did Canelo do wrong? Or what did anybody do wrong by Canelo? Because he allowed himself to test himself, like call his own shots, but we want to go the opposite way of this. How does this make sense? Well, if you've been a fan of boxing through at least the HBO era, then you know that the main goal for fighters, once they've reached a certain commercial status in boxing, is to go their own way. Everybody wants to part from their promoter when they don't need them anymore because it's one less hand that's out, and it's not just one, it's many hands. And so it's like, what are you talking about, Oscar? Like, you're just talking to talk to get like clout or to get likes, or what is it? It feels gross. And do you not remember you have other people that you're promoting that like you're not really watching out for a whole lot, or don't seem like, who in his stable is he even cool with? Like, who goes to his birthday party? Because I don't think Ryan Garcia goes to his birthday party. Like, I don't even think B-Hop goes to his birthday party at this point. Like, he has become persona non grata in boxing. But the issue is that he has such a pristine name in the Hispanic community. He's still able to do a lot of big business with, within California and, those types of things. So a lot of people have interest and positions for De La Hoya, but, he doesn't seem to know where he fits within the boxing landscape.
And look, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I think it's time for De La Hoya to just concentrate on his fighters, the ones he has now, and that's it. That's what he needs to focus on, because right now you have seen this Estrada talking about how you ain't paying her, so like you don't want your fighters talking like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just go ahead and go take care of that and worry about that. You know what I mean? Because it's only a matter of time before Ryan starts asking for more money, right? Another guy that was throwing shots at Canelo, by the way, was Ryan Garcia. Well, what you make of it, Mario?
Yeah, that's another tough situation. I don't know. I really don't know what to make of it. I think first of all, young fighters like that shouldn't get caught up into too many guys now are taking the bait from Mike Tyson and a lot of these other older fighters, and it's there's no need to do that. Fight your fight, make your race, do those things. Ryan has enough of issues to take care of, and I don't mean that in any negative way. I mean it's true. When you're a fighter at that level, he has enough things on his plate. He doesn't need to start taking on, the issues of other fighters and people within the sport.
Yeah, it looks like he deleted the tweet I was looking for. There was a tweet.
Yeah, I was looking for it too. But.
Yeah. So that tells you everything.
What did he say?
I'm trying to remember exactly, but it was basically rubbing in the loss.
Not good. You don't kick him in when.
And then it was kind of saying, "Oh, what? I mean, he went at me before, so it's fair game or something like that."
No, you can't do that.
But it just seems like a lot of fighters are trying to act like they're getting a W off of Canelo's loss, and I guess it comes with.
Not all fighters. Look. In fairness, Clarissa Shields came out and said it's bullshit that people are talking shit about Canelo. Kermit Cintron, Shakur Stevenson. I think even Tank. A lot of fighters are actually giving Canelo props for doing what he did. Yeah. Which is the final topic I want to get to, and I want you guys' thoughts on this. Okay, I'll start with historian. And we'll go from there. So this will be the final topic of the night. There's some narratives out here that are saying that this was a cherry pick gone wrong for Saul Canelo Alvarez. And they're saying basically, they're just saying things like, oh, see, this is why he dug Charlo right here. Like they're using this fight as the reason. This is why he avoided Andrade. Look at what Bivol did to him. And he didn't think Bivol would do this, but he did. It looked like the Euro, quote unquote, Euro bum had some boxing skills, and that they didn't expect him to have. But what do you make of it? Is this a cherry pick gone wrong, TBH?
First and foremost, those guys that are putting out them narratives are halfway retarded. It seemed like they probably didn't graduate from the second grade. They can't. 2 + 2 is 5, and 2 + 2 is 6 to him. It is what it is. But with that being said, first and foremost, just because Bivol beat who is a superb boxer, one of the best jabs, one of the best technical boxers in the sport at light heavyweight, mind you, which is a bigger weight than 160 and 168, does not mean that Andrade, who has done nothing, has not fought anybody, who pulls out of fights by phantom injuries. Yeah, I'm gonna call it what it is, phantom injuries. Charlo, who likes to stutter when asked direct questions about a guy that he should be fighting instead of sitting on his ass for a whole year not doing shit. And all these other characters that they're talking about, look, how the hell was this a cherry pick when he moved up to 175? That's why I predicted him getting his ass whooped in the fight. He's cherry picking a champion at light heavyweight who has all the tools to beat his ass, and is the same type of fighter that these guys conjure up in their mind, thinking that Andrade, who ain't fought nobody like Canelo, I don't know. I mean, Charlo, he's not even that kind of boxer. I'm trying to think of all these characters that they saying that can beat him, boxing wise. No. Just because Bivol beat him doesn't mean that they're gonna beat him. Charlo's getting knocked out. He doesn't have no defense. He doesn't protect himself. He don't even keep his hands up. Demetrius Andrade's gonna get stopped. All right. Benavidez is the only one really got it that has a chance because he can actually bang with him. And I don't think he can beat him. I don't think he has a great shot. He got like a 30% chance against Canelo. You understand? Like this is madness to me. And I think that anybody pushing out them false narratives, like I said, are just halfway retarded and they don't know shit about no damn boxing. And that, you know what? It's a lot of these damn YouTubers that be having these 50-something thousand subscribers. They ain't got that. Like I told you, they didn't graduate grade school, man. They fucking stupid, man. But I'm gonna go on mute.
All right. Hey, Calix, to add to the question you, but does stuff like this discourage fighters from trying to go for greatness or trying to do great things?
Yeah, and it's bothered me, and it's gotten to the point where I don't get mad at promoters, managers, network execs anymore as much as I do the fans, because at the end of the day, the fans get what we ask for through our actions. And we all knew Bivol Beterbiev between 160 175, those were the two toughest fights stylistically. Now, where I got it wrong was I still undervalued Bivol. Got that wrong. And I can admit that. A lot of guys can't come on here and admit when they were wrong, but clearly much tougher fights than Charlo. And Canelo's team had to have known that. I wasn't in the room with Canelo, obviously, and his team when they're concocting this 3-fight plan, but I would imagine that they knew this going in. And they knew that they had a tough guy on the front end of a 3-fight deal with the zone. And it's a much tougher deal than Charlo, Errol Spence at 164, and Benavidez. This is a much tougher task for him. So that bothers me because it can stop fighters, deter fighters from taking on real challenges, right? Like you just said. The other one that bothers me is the pound for pound. I'm not going to get too much into that, but I refuse to put a guy on the top of my pound for pound list who has fought once in the past 16 plus months. And I ask people out there, are you willing to hand over the pound for pound keys to the pound for pound kingdom to a guy who has fought once in the past 16 plus months, a part-time fighter? And we have to recognize that when we're comparing and contrasting Canelo to these other fighters in the top 5 pound for pound, in the top 50 pound for pound, if you look at BoxRec's top 50 pound for pound, he's the only guy who fought more than twice. He's the only full-time fighter right now. And if we're considering twice a year a full-time fighter, then him and Inoue are the only two guys in the top of the pound for pound list, top 5, that are full-time fighters. So I don't know. I need to see more from these other guys. I'm not saying that Canelo's the pound for pound king still, because there's no precedent for a guy losing and still being at the top. All I'm saying is there's a vacuum now at the top, and none of those guys have done the work to fill that vacuum now that Canelo has fallen. That's my only point. The only reason I bring it up is because we get what we ask for at the end of the day. If you give the guy the pound for pound kingdom who has fought once in the past 16 months, then you're going to get more of that.
Beep, same question to you, but I also added to that. Do you think a lot of American fight fans overvalue the American fighters and undervalue European fighters, in your opinion?
I do believe that, yes. And unfortunately, I have to say that I undervalued Bivol, but not to the extent that I didn't think he was a good fighter, because I said on paper, you can't name 5 light heavyweights better than him. It's either him or Beterbiev. If at the top of light heavyweight, there's no other way to really look at it, in my opinion. Maybe you can say I overvalued Canelo, but did I really overvalue Canelo? Because when you look at these odds are a reflection of the public perception. They don't just pick these numbers out of the sky. Now, of course, some people are going to look at it and say, "Wow, he's a big underdog," right? But the only reason why he's a big underdog is because no one thinks he can win. right? Now, if even if you say, oh, well, it's going to be a tough fight, but I still think Canelo's going to win, you're still picking Canelo to win, right? So that's why the odds are as high as they are. I could pick on my hand how many people pick Bivol. I think Boxing Historian is the only guy that I know picked Bivol. There's probably maybe one or two others. So, I don't want to sound disrespectful to Bivol, but you can argue that I severely undervalued him, right? But that's because of how good I think Canelo is, right? So that's not a reflection of disrespect. That's a reflection of maybe just respecting how good Canelo is. That's not to say that Bivol's not good. I just thought Canelo was better, right? So, yeah, I mean, but if you're talking about calling Bivol a cherry pick, and that's just disrespectful. You know what I mean? Like again, the guy earned his position as a champion, right? He's been an amateur for a long period of time. This guy's been boxing since he was like 5 or 6 years old. But I still thought Canelo was going to win. But to call him a cherry pick, I think that's just way off base.
So historian and so you both watch basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it fair to say that the world, quote unquote, has caught up in boxing, like they've caught up a little bit more, like in basketball?
Absolutely,
it's a good comparison.
So,
yeah, that's a good comparison. If you look at the Olympics from where it's gone from '92 in basketball to today, there aren't gimmies when you get to the top 4 or 5 for Team USA anymore. So that shows you right there that the game has caught up, and it's everywhere now. Europe, South America, it's everywhere. And it's become the same thing. Like we used to joke about it 12, 13 years ago on YouTube, right? Like, oh, another European guy's coming over here. That's easy money. That guy's going to lose. That's not the case anymore. That's not the case anymore. Now I'm telling USA fighters to go over there and fight. Like imagine Terence Crawford going to the UK and fighting.
I've been saying
he would sell out a Stalker Stadium, and he's not even from there. I'm telling you.
They love him
I'm
over there.
telling you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Historian, give me some quick final thoughts, brother, and tell everybody where they can find you. And you're on mute. You're like Canelo. You can't pull the trigger. Like what's going on?
No, I mean, you can find me at the Boxing Historian 206 on YouTube, Boxer 206 on Twitter, or something like that, Boxing 206, whatever. But with that being said, though, Canelo Alvarez, I mean, as I predicted, was going to get mollywopped. We're not mollywopped, just outclassed. I would say this to the fans of Canelo Alvarez.
You don't have to hold back. It's all good.
Yeah, well, mollywop means he got tossed around the ring, but it wasn't like that.
Like Wilder Fury with that.
Yeah, no, not like that. But I would say that to the fans of Canelo Alvarez, the extremist fans, pull it down a bit. To the regular fans of Canelo, it's not the end of the world. To the crazy people that hate Canelo, just understand that your favorite fighter, even though Canelo Alvarez is pampered, he is to a certain degree, that your favorite fighter is not active like that. Fight once a year, once every 2 years, gets to keep a belt. It doesn't fight as active as often as Canelo Alvarez, and just at least respect the fact that Canelo Alvarez went up and did something that your favorite fighter couldn't do and didn't have the heart to do, and that's including my favorite fighters. All right, so just respect that, and just respect the Bivol, respect the Canelo. It is what it is.
That's right, brother. Hey, thanks for coming on, brother. Much appreciated. Beeb, talk to us, brother. Final thoughts, everybody, where they can find you and all that good stuff.
All I can say is if Bivol was a cherry pick, then why weren't all these other guys going over to the tree and picking the cherry? That's why I look at it.
They're not lining up right now to fight him.
Yeah, no one's at the orchard right now looking to grab that cherry. But I love upsets. Even when I don't pick them, I love upsets. I think upsets shake up the world. They make boxing better because now, it's good to be surprised, number one, right? And number two, now knowing that Bivol is probably better than we thought, it brings another player to the game, which is always interesting. It makes these other matchups even more intriguing. And now I find myself saying this, and maybe I shouldn't be, and maybe it's not even fair. can Canelo beat so and so as like I thought he could? You know, is he maybe slowing down a bit? Are these other matchups that I had him a prohibitive favorite in? Are these closer matchups, better fights now? So all these things just make the sport more interesting. And again, this was a great weekend because of the big shakeup, right? You can find me at JB1 on Twitter. You can find me at Ringside Reporter Live here on YouTube, Joe Habib on Facebook, Joe Habib on Instagram. And we go live every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, myself and Eric Lauda, the Ringside Reporter podcast. Make sure you join us.
Thanks for coming on, brother. Much appreciated, man.
Absolutely.
And Joe Calix, talk to us. Final thoughts, whatever you want to say.
Calix Boxing 2.0 on YouTube and Calix Boxing 2 on Twitter. And just to piggyback on what Beeb said, and if you want to go check out my full thoughts on Bivol and his performance, go to my channel. Great performance, phenomenal. I wanted to give him his flowers first, and then I'll talk Canelo after on my channel. But just to piggyback real quick on what he said, it didn't have me rethinking Canelo Triple G3. And that's the fight that I want to see still, because after watching Bivol's performance, I still think to myself, even 4 years later, even at 40 years old, I still think Golovkin presents some problems stylistically for Canelo, and I would love that fight. So I fully anticipate us getting the rematch, though, and I would do the same if I was Canelo. But as a fan, I'm hoping for Canelo Triple G3 and Bivol versus Beterbiev later in the year.
All right, man. There you go. Joe Calix. Everybody subscribe to his channel. Calix Boxing 2.0 here on YouTube. Have a good one, brother.
You too.
All right. Iso Akune says, where was the bite down in Canelo during the championship rounds? He had to have known he was in a close fight. Anything from Reynoso about urgency? I mean, I hear you. He looked tired after round 4, man. So like, I don't know how much there was to like give. I think in his mind, maybe he was trying to set up a big shot or something. Maybe he knows he's got a rematch if necessary, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, first of all, thank you for your support. Much appreciated for the super chat. I can't be on Canelo's head. I don't know, but I would have loved to have seen more urgency. But I don't know if he had the energy for it. Like I don't think he had much left. Okay. After like round 9, I felt like round 9 was his last stand, and then I don't know if he had anything left, to be honest with you. So, and credit to Bivol, you know. And by the way, a jab can tire you out too. I mean, you're getting hit with a jab, you know, your neck's being bounced back, it puts strain back here, you know what I mean? It tires you out as well. The jab can have a lot to do with that. The stress, you know, like that matters. Like, you know what I mean? It all, like, boxing's already very aerobic, and then you add the jab, you add the, you know, the frustration, you know what, he couldn't connect very clean on Bivol. Like, it all adds up. You know what I mean? Like, it just adds up. And I think the fact that he was able to finish it, I think, says a lot. I don't know if he had more to just bite down, and I just don't know. You know what I mean? So, and Canelo just isn't that guy that just flails away and sells out like that. He's never been that guy. So it's hard to ask somebody to beat somebody they're not, you know. But much appreciated. Shout out to Psycho Boxing Fan Watt. Shout out to Tony Boswell, Citron Sun, everybody. I want to share this to you guys really quick before I go. You can go to the link that I posted in the chat. All right. And you can check out this women's fight news, okay? And I have an article on there, right, about Kayla Gomez from knocking out epilepsy to chasing Olympic gold. And it's just a story you guys can read. So go ahead and check that out, okay? And you can check out the rest of the magazine, of course. I mean, there's some other great stuff on there as well. You guys can check that out, man. So go ahead and check out the article whenever you get a chance. But for now, if you guys could, you know, go ahead and give the Shoe Shine a listen. They'll be live. It looks like in 6 minutes or something like that. So the link is in the chat right there. I just posted it. So you guys could go check out the Shoe Shine. A shout out to everybody, man. It's hard to shout out everyone, but Sonteo, you know, Lee Groves, and the Roundtable will be on this channel this week on Thursday. So I'll see you guys there. Check out Mano Mano will be tomorrow on Master A Boxing, so check that out. And all that good stuff. So this is D-Style Boxing. The link is right there. One more time in the chat. And I am out of here, guys. That's the show for tonight. You know what I mean? That's Aftermath. That's the story for the day. I'm out of here. Peace.
11, 10,